Something I've never touched on, or I guess I touch on it a little bit, but usually only during reaction videos. I don't talk about it explicitly when it comes to talk segments of my own, and that's game exclusivity and my thoughts on game exclusivity, right? I think that there's a lot of game exclusivity on platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. There's a lot of games that don't come to the console from the consoles to PC immediately, or their best versions exist on their original hardware, that being the console, right? But I think something that doesn't get mentioned or brought up ever is that the vast majority of exclusives now, since eventually most PlayStation first-party studio games will come to PC, and most Xbox first-party exclusives are day and date with PC because of Game Pass at the least, most of the most popular exclusives that exist are actually PC exclusives. PC actually has the most exclusives of any console. And before you stop me there and you call me an idiot and say that no, it's Nintendo, or you want to make the even dumber argument that it's mobile, BlueStacks exists. Other means that may piss off Nintendo to play Switch games on PC also exist. You can't use those means to get PC games running on your PlayStation, your Xbox, your Nintendo Switch, but you can do it the other way around. So when we think about true exclusivity, no way at all in any means, any form, any facet to play games that exist on an ecosystem, it's PC, right? If I move my live screen over right now to what I consider probably the easiest way to find out about exclusivity is the Steam charts. We're currently on the Steam charts website, where now you can see that there is if you look at this list of the top games on Steam right now, Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, Satisfactory, right? Those are 3 of the 10 most played games on PC. They're all also PC exclusives for now. We don't know how long it will stay that way with something like Satisfactory because it's in early access, and that's one of the first points. The reason why I mention console exclusivity or platform exclusivity is my thoughts on it is I think it sucks. I'm a big hater of platform exclusivity, but I do believe that there are reasons why, if a game is exclusive to anywhere, it's PC. It's usually for good reason. The reasons all surround 2 things: time and money. Time and money. Okay? And the reason why I say that is because for a long time, to get your hands on a PlayStation 5 developer kit or PlayStation 4 developer kit, there was no incentive. There was no bonus. You had to pay for that developer kit. And then if you got approved for your project, your game, your 1.0, not usually your early access, not something that they really allowed back in the PS4 days, they had the same flat rate 30% cut that Steam has, on top of having to buy your dev kit first. Now, when you look at the Xbox side of things, Xbox has a partnership program where they will give you a dev kit to make the game you want on their platform. They also take 30%. That means now the only thing you're wasting when it comes to the PS5 and the Xbox Series ecosystem is time. Now you need to make whatever game you were making run originally on x86 hardware with no intent to have it on console cost time. Not money, only time. The other one is patches or early accesses. A lot of these games stay in early access for a really long time, but they're not half-baked products. They're very much so extremely close to complete that just need those small polished finishing touches, which usually come from people playing the game. A lot of these games that are in early access, it takes a long time for them to move from PC to console because of their early access state. Sony doesn't approve them, Xbox doesn't approve them, or they don't believe they will sell enough copies on those platforms for it to be worth the money and time invested developing the game initially for those platforms. You can look at something like Core Keeper. Core Keeper had a pretty modest life, but gained popularity on PC before ever getting to its 1.0 and moving over to consoles. Core Keeper has been on PC for a while before the 1.0 release before everyone's ranting and raving about it. For anyone who doesn't know about Core Keeper, it's like top-down Terraria. Very cool survival crafting, RPG-like mechanics and stuff. That's the kind of game I'm referring to. And that's one of the bigger hits, right? When you look at some of the smaller games, like a Vampire Survivors, a Neophyte, a Cat Bait, these games stay on PC longer because of the fact that they have long early access cycles, or they cost so little that a lot of the times it's not worth the extra headache developing for PlayStation, knowing you will still be losing that same amount of cut, developing for Microsoft, Nintendo, while losing that same amount of cut you would have spent. I mean, you lose on Steam, right? A game like that's $5, a game that's $7, probably not worth the development time and money moving it over to other platforms, even if it means more players will be able to enjoy your game. It kind of sucks. I hate that not everyone can enjoy every video game ever. I think Neophyte's sick, but it's still in early access, so console players can't currently play it. But it's in early access here for a reason. A $3 video game with controller support, just because it has controller support doesn't mean it's immediately ready for console launch. You could even look at games that, instead of having their problems being that they're early access, or having their problems be that it's time to develop the game for a console, you could instead look at that they're optimized for keyboard and mouse. Now, for a long time, keyboard and mouse was not applicable when it came to Xbox and PlayStation ecosystems from the PS5, from the PS4 backwards, right? From the Xbox Series backwards, or the Xbox One backwards. You can now plug in natively a keyboard and mouse to your Xbox. I'm not sure if the same software exists on the PlayStation side of things, because if it did, I'm sure Sony would make their own keyboard and mouse and sell it to you for like $150 instead of letting you just buy any keyboard and mouse. Regardless, I think that when it comes to games that are optimized better for keyboard, it's almost always their home to see them on PC. A game like Dota, a game like League of Legends, Dota 2 rather, League of Legends, Counter-Strike. I even think of a game like Magic the Gathering Arena, which has a phone version, but does not have a console version. I don't know if they're just not certain of the console's architecture and how it would work, or if they're not sure they would make enough back in, sales of packs and battle passes that they don't feel as if it's worth the investment of moving their game over and making sure that Arena won't break being multi-plat, right? Being multi-platform. Maybe they don't understand or don't trust their own infrastructure. And with moving over to PC, or from PC over to consoles, another thing to think about is that a lot of these games now have full crossplay. So if you're looking at a multiplayer game or a live service game, you're no longer just looking at it as a one-off entry fee of like your $40, your $60, your $10, your $5 for a game, and you play it insularly by yourself. Insularly. Instead, now you're dealing with an ecosystem of other players and an online infrastructure that makes it so that you are almost always online, or the vast majority of your time is spent online in a multiplayer facet. You know what I'm saying? So, when you think about that, now those games that Counter-Strike 2, Dota, League of Legends are trying to make all of their systems that work perfectly fine on the ecosystem they've been using for 10 years, on the ecosystem they've been using for 5 years, also work and be compatible with multiplayer crossplay over to console. It worked out very well with a game like Valorant. As far as I know, the Valorant beta went extremely well, and console seems to be working just fine with Valorant. But not all games will work this way, not only because of the online ecosystem and the infrastructure needed for it, but also the keyboard and mouse compatibility. Those are two things that cost dev time and dev resources, which costs money. Your favorite game that you would love to see, a game like, I'm thinking Phasmophobia, a game like Lethal Company, these small games that are developed by not large teams, especially Lethal Company, only on PC, makes sense. I don't like it, but it's a costly endeavor to expect these developers to move their games over to a platform that's going to charge them the same amount of Steam, but require significantly more work to get into the door. When it comes to smaller games, it's understandable. When it comes to large games like Escape from Tarkov, maybe the real issue is something like keyboard and mouse compatibility over controller compatibility. PC is truly now the only gaming ecosystem, the only gaming platform that still has exclusive games. I don't particularly like it. I don't particularly think it's fair to console players. I wish we could all play the same games and all play the same games together. But when you think about the logistics of why some games are locked to consoles or locked to PC, it almost always favors a game being locked to PC. Food for thought for everyone who's ever thought that console exclusivity is the worst thing in the world, but never looked at the other side of the coin and said that PC exclusivity is a bad thing. Tell me how you feel about it down in the comment section below. Like the video if you learned something new today or had a new thought cross your mind. Subscribe to the channel because I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers eventually to make that mucho dinero on YouTube. Anyways, this has been Beanie Thuggish talking about the last bastion of exclusive games on a singular platform. Signing out and saying peace.